welcome back, fellow Masters of the Universe fans, as we continue our director's commentary on all of the classic figures in the order they were released. I'm Scott Toy Guru Neitlich, former brand manager of this line. Today, as you can tell from this image, we're talking about King Hsss and Snake Armor He-Man. And this was kind of the figure where, well, the line kind of went like, oh, oy vey. God, all right, it's going to be a mess, isn't it? And honestly, this is because this was after I left Mattel for Jakks Pacific, and there really wasn't anyone left behind to run the line, and to say things went a little haywire is kind of a understatement. We're going to get into that. I guess I should give a little bit of background if this is your first video. So after brand managing the line for about 9 years, Kim in the purple there in the middle took over, but she was a temp, not a full-time employee, and well, she didn't stick around that long even after I left. So basically there wasn't a brand manager running the line at this point. It was sort of being passed around between anyone, and creating a Snake He-Man was still in the cards and was going to go forward, but well, it was going to be up to sort of a mixed match of people running the line. Now, Snake Armor He-Man, let's do a little bit of background before we get into like sort of the chaos of this figure's release. This is a figure that has been showing up in quite a few He-Man lines, including Origins. He was originally created by Ruben Martinez in 2001 as an upgrade for He-Man for the 2000X show. They wanted a new version for Season 2, Season 3, and part of the feedback they were getting was kids didn't like that He-Man wasn't wearing armor, or rather that he didn't have armor all over his body. They were basically looking at him and saying, why is there a naked guy in a furry loincloth running around fighting? They just couldn't connect with it. There was just something about, this naked guy that wasn't resonating with kids. So Ruben thought he would give him sort of half armor would be the solution. And I always thought this was a little bit of a goofy look, but it worked, and fans embraced it, and, he's become a legitimate version of He-Man, and, showed up in the animated series in 2000X. Never got a Snake Armor She-Ra. I bet she would have looked really cool, but hey, there's a lot of talented customizers out there who can take on challenges like this. Okay, so Snake Armor He-Man versus King Hsss, and why did this figure kind of start the, the haywiring of the line? So, as I've noted, Snake Armor He-Man has become a character who's shown up in quite a few Masters of the Universe lines, including multiple releases and Origins. He never was in the original line. It kind of would have looked interesting. This maybe, if he had that original head. Imagine what the figure would have looked like had he come out in 1987 or something. But either way, getting him into classics was something we wanted to do because it brought a specific 2000X variant of He-Man and had a chance for new armor, new head. With King Hsss, on the other hand, we could do a completely new dynamic version because, well, King Hsss is a figure that's a little disappointing when you look at the original, and not just from a consumer standpoint, but from those who worked on him. I heard from multiple employees like Martin Ariola, who worked on the original line, that this figure did not come out the way the designers wanted. It was supposed to be a magical reveal where suddenly the heroic hero version, the humanoid version, becomes the evil Snake version. And while that was the original intent, actually getting this to work as a physical toy meant a lot of compromises, and the final product had kind of snap-on armor over the snake parts. Not what the designers had in mind. It was definitely what you would call a compromise figure, and a lot of the designers were really disappointed in how it came out, and actually thought the original vintage King Hsss was one of the low points of the entire line. It just did not work the way designers wanted it to. And yeah, they felt, and I think a lot of fans agree, that it does kind of look a little wonky with the snap-on armor, etc. And he never showed up in the Filmation cartoon, so we didn't get a chance to kind of see what he should have looked like in sort of the designers' minds. We only got this from some pieces of artwork that came out at the same time as the original King Hsss figure, sort of the artwork showing where the designers' minds were if they could get the toy to work like that. All right, so the first King Hsss we did in Classics was based on this original figure. And instead of having snap-on armor, we just did a swappable torso, much like we did swappable heads for characters like Snoutspout or Snakeface, characters that could really benefit from a completely different part versus an action feature, which would have been more expensive and difficult to do in a line like Classics that had such limited run, limited appeal. All right, so we did our version of King Hsss that mimicked the original version, but as I said, both fans and the people who worked on him back in the day thought King Hsss could be a lot more than he was, and doing a sort of upgraded, more dynamic version was in the cards, and being able to do the 2000X version was especially interesting to me because I'm a huge fan of Egyptian culture, and King Hsss and the Snake Men in 2000X had a bit of an Egyptian vibe going on with the headdress and the armor, so, hey, I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, they didn't exactly live in pyramids and ride around camels, but hey, what can I say? I like Egyptian culture. Just go check out Doodling with Purpose every Sunday, only on Spector Creative. All right, shameless plug for my other, playlist. Okay, back to King Hsss. So, yes, in 2000X, he became a lot more snaky, if you will, in the animation. And again, there were difficulties in bringing this to a physical toy, and compromises were needed once again. And again, King Hsss not quite coming out the way both collectors and especially the designers wanted him. So this was really our chance to finally do a King Hsss that was going to do the character justice. And we could make a version that would be different from the original release visually, but would finally deliver that really dramatic King Hsss. And we showed it at Comic-Con that this upper snake part would be new and swappable onto the new 2000X King Hsss body. And you could finally have a King Hsss to battle your Snake Armor He-Man, even though the upper portion was not going to come with King Hsss and Snake Armor He-Man. And that's where things started going haywire, because we knew we couldn't afford the top part of King Hss's snake form with the 2-pack release here. So we came up with a long-term plan. The plan was that we were going to release the snake version of his upper torso with another upcoming figure. In fact, I'll get to it in a moment, but it was all planned out from a financial standpoint exactly how we were going to make this work. Unfortunately, when Kim took over after I left and then quickly left herself, there was no one left to run the line. And Mattel's solution was to offer another figure, and this was not what was promised. What was promised was the torso piece was going to come with a subscription. Honestly, to this date, I don't know why fans did not file a class action lawsuit on this one, because it was on tape, on video, promised you would get the upper snake half with these 2015 or 14, whatever year we're in, subscription. And that never happened because the new team dropped the ball, or really was actually non-existent, because after I left and Kim left, there was nobody running the line for a while until they gave it to Super 7. So the promise that the upper torso, the snake portion, which was shown at Comic-Con and orally told the fans they were going to get this piece, not with this pack, but in a later figure offering in 2000, and again, was it 14, 15, whatever that year was. So it was going to come with laser power He-Man and Laser Light Skeletor. In fact, fans paid for the torso. The cost was baked into this. So fans actually paid for the torso twice. If you bought this set, you paid for the torso, didn't get it because it was baked into the cost. And then when Mattel offered the standalone torso piece a year and a half later to kind of make it up to fans, you had to pay for that separately. So yeah, fans paid for this figure 2 times. And again, I don't know why there was not more, people upset, because a promise was made that you were going to get this portion as part of the subscription. And yeah, that bugged me because a lot of work went into this. And after I left, it was just like, ugh, all right, well, just the way it's going to be when they don't have someone running the line. So carry on, my He-Man fans, carry on.